Stupidity has existed in every civilization, in every century, under every flag and every god. Empires rose with it, religions spread through it, systems survived because of it, and that alone should disturb you. If stupidity were merely a weakness, a defect, why hadn't nature corrected it long ago? As we know, evolution eliminates what does not serve survival. It removes inefficiency. It discards what holds life back. Yet here we are, surrounded by people who refuse to think, who repeat what they are told, who defend ideas they have never examined, and who somehow thrive inside society. You have seen them everywhere around you. You have seen them in politics, in religion, in families, celebrated. And at some point, you ask yourself this question: why are these people even here? Arthur Schopenhauer noticed this long before social media, before mass education, before modern bureaucracy, and he asked a question most philosophers avoided. What if stupidity isn't a mistake, but a feature? In this video, we explore Schopenhauer's disturbing insight into why stupidity persists, how social systems benefit from it, and why obedience and mental laziness are often rewarded over independent thought. By the end, the stupidity in music, politics, social media, and everyday life will finally make sense. Schopenhauer did not define stupidity as low intelligence. That is a common misunderstanding. For him, stupidity was something far more dangerous: the refusal to use one's own mind, the lazy surrender of judgment, the comfort of borrowed opinions, the instinct to obey rather than understand. In his essays, he observed that most people are not incapable of thinking. They are unwilling. Thinking requires effort. Thinking isolates you. Thinking puts you in conflict with the crowd. And most humans, Schopenhauer argued, fear isolation more than they fear error. So they trade truth for belonging. This is where the system enters the picture. Every system, political, religious, economic, depends on predictability. Predictable workers, predictable voters, predictable believers, independent thinkers are unstable elements. They question rules, they notice contradictions, they ask why instead of how much. Stupid people, on the other hand, obedient minds, are efficient. They follow routines, they respect authority without understanding it, they confuse confidence with correctness, and most importantly, they do not resist. Schopenhauer saw that societies quietly reward this behavior. Not openly, but structurally. The obedient are promoted. The agreeable are praised. The conformist is called normal. Meanwhile, the thinker is labeled difficult, arrogant, dangerous, overthinking. This creates a silent selection process. Not natural selection, social selection. The system does not need you to be wise. It needs you to be useful. It needs your labor, your compliance, your silence. And stupidity, understood as mental laziness, delivers all three. That is why stupidity multiplies. Not because people are born that way, but because it pays. In Schopenhauer's eyes, the tragedy wasn't that stupid people exist. It was that the world is designed to favor them. And once you see that, you can never unsee it. Because the real question isn't why stupid people exist. It's why thinking has become a liability. Stupidity is not just tolerated by society, it is rewarded. But the question remains: how exactly does the system benefit from it? The human mind, when lazy, obedient, or unthinking, becomes predictable and exploitable. Systems, whether political, economic, or cultural, thrive on predictability. They do not need brilliance, creativity, or critical thought. They need compliance. They need obedience. They need minds that do not question. Obedient people follow rules without challenge. They vote the way they are told. They work the hours they are instructed. They consume what they are offered, repeat what they are fed, and rarely step out of line. Their mental laziness makes them efficient cogs in a machine that demands order, not insight. Societies, almost without realizing it, quietly reward this behavior. The obedient rise, the agreeable are praised. The conformist is called normal. Those who dare to think independently, who question, analyze, or challenge authority, are labeled difficult, arrogant, or even dangerous. Independent thought becomes a liability, and the thinker is often sidelined by social scorn or career stagnation. This is not an accident. It is a self-reinforcing system. The obedient multiply because their behavior is profitable. The thinker is discouraged because independent thought is inconvenient. Over generations, this shapes civilization itself. Patterns emerge where conformity is safer than insight, and mediocrity is celebrated while brilliance is ignored. There is another layer. Stupidity is often confident. People who do not think deeply rarely doubt themselves. They repeat slogans, defend ideas without examination, and speak with certainty. This confidence makes them persuasive. They dominate conversations, politics, and public opinion. Meanwhile, the thinker hesitates, questions, and doubts, often quietly. In a world that rewards certainty, the loud and lazy minds rise to power. The system does more than simply reward obedience. It trains it. From early childhood, most people are conditioned to follow rules rather than explore ideas. Education emphasizes memorization over analysis. Cultural norms punish questioning. Social rewards, praise, belonging, status are given to those who conform. Obedience is built into the very fabric of life, reinforced daily. This explains why reasoning with someone who refuses to think is usually futile. Logic, evidence, or nuance rarely succeed because obedience and shallow confidence are socially reinforced, not intellectually corrected. Systems often rely on this failure of reasoning. A population that repeats slogans and obeys without thinking is far easier to manage than one that challenges every decision. The result is everywhere. In politics, in business, in media, even in culture. The system profits quietly, structurally, invisibly. It does not need people to be smart. It needs people to be predictable and compliant. Stupidity, mental laziness combined with obedience, is the ideal currency for social machines. This obedience also explains the illusion of progress. On the surface, societies advance with new technologies, policies, and ideas. Yet beneath that progress, the majority continues to think shallowly, follow authority without reflection, and repeat patterns that preserve the existing order. Civilization evolves in tools and systems, not in consciousness. The patterns of civilization, the very structure of society, are shaped not by the brilliant or the wise, but by those who refuse to think and yet act obediently. Conformity becomes the rule, independent thought becomes uncomfortable, and social belonging is often preserved at the cost of reasoning. Once you see this, it becomes impossible to ignore the logic behind human behavior. The confident, obedient, unthinking majority is not a flaw in society. It is a feature, cultivated and maintained because it benefits the system. And the most dangerous part is that most people never realize it. They live, follow, and obey, while the system silently profits from their predictability. Civilization, as we know it, is not only a product of genius, creativity, and knowledge. It is also a product of obedience, conformity, and the repeated surrender of thought. Schopenhauer recognized a truth most people refuse to see. The structures, hierarchies, and social norms that define society exist because most people do not think for themselves. Every law, custom, and institution relies on predictability. Predictable behavior allows systems to function efficiently. Predictable beliefs allow leaders, governments, and organizations to maintain control. Independent thinking, by contrast, is disruptive. It asks inconvenient questions. It challenges authority. It exposes contradictions. Civilization, in its quiet mechanics, punishes this kind of thinking. Look at everyday life. Schools reward memorization over insight. Workplaces reward compliance over initiative. Social groups reward agreement over reflection. The patterns of civilization are reinforced by a simple rule: conform, and you are accepted. Think independently, and you are isolated. Stupidity, in Schopenhauer's sense, is not ignorance. It is the deliberate avoidance of thought. People surrender reasoning because thinking isolates them. Thinking requires effort and courage. It forces confrontation with uncomfortable truths about themselves, others, and the systems around them. Most humans, Schopenhauer argued, would rather be comfortable and accepted than right or aware. This surrender shapes civilization itself. Obedient, unthinking people reproduce the social norms, the hierarchies, the rituals, and even the ideologies that maintain the system. They defend ideas they have never examined, and they enforce conformity in others. The collective effect is enormous. Societies are built less on wisdom and more on repeated compliance. And yet, the system rewards it. The obedient are praised, the agreeable are promoted. The loud, confident, yet shallow minds dominate public discourse. Meanwhile, the thinker is sidelined, dismissed, or labeled difficult, often silently punished by isolation or social ridicule. This selective reinforcement ensures that civilization continues to rely on obedience rather than insight. Stupidity also creates a mirror of safety. When most people refuse to think, the majority can be easily led. Systems profit not from coercion alone, but from the voluntary surrender of judgment. People repeat slogans, embrace cliches, and adopt beliefs without examination, all while believing they are acting freely. The illusion of choice masks the reality of social engineering. This is why patterns repeat across generations. The same errors in politics, culture, and religion resurface endlessly. The same shallow ideas rise to prominence. The system does not fail because of stupidity. It succeeds because of it. Obedience and mental laziness are not side effects. They are structural features. And here is the most striking consequence. The very existence of these patterns makes independent thought painful and socially costly. A person who questions the accepted norms risks isolation, ridicule, and even professional or personal setbacks. Conformity is safer. Obedience is rewarded. Thinking becomes dangerous. Schopenhauer's insight is dark but precise. Civilization is a monument not only to human achievement, but also to human surrender. The structures we admire, the order we rely on, the normal world we navigate, all of it exists because the majority chooses, often unconsciously, not to think. Once you recognize these patterns, it becomes impossible to ignore the truth. The system does not merely tolerate stupidity, it thrives on it. And independent thought, once rare, now carries a silent cost. Humans are social creatures. We are wired to seek belonging, approval, and acceptance. Schopenhauer understood that this instinct is one of the strongest forces keeping stupidity alive. People surrender their thinking not because they cannot, but because they fear isolation more than error. Social belonging comes at a cost. To fit in, individuals often adopt the beliefs, routines, and opinions of the majority. They repeat what others say, follow what others do, and accept what the system rewards. Independent thought becomes risky. Questioning norms threatens approval, creates conflict, and invites judgment. The desire to belong quietly enforces obedience. This is why reasoning with someone who refuses to think is usually futile. Their loyalty is not to truth or logic, but to the group, to the system, to the comfort of conformity. Facts are irrelevant if they clash with collective beliefs. Evidence is dismissed if it threatens approval. The crowd, not reason, decides what is acceptable. Obedience becomes a form of social currency. Agreeable people are celebrated. Conformists are called normal. Those who think differently are often labeled arrogant, difficult, or even dangerous. Over time, society silently selects for mental laziness. Those willing to surrender judgment thrive. Those who insist on thinking independently pay a price, often in isolation, ridicule, or frustration. Schopenhauer saw this as one of civilization's most insidious mechanisms. Systems do not merely rely on stupidity. They exploit the human need for acceptance. They profit from the fear of isolation. They reward obedience and discourage reflection. The tragedy is subtle but profound. Many people are not truly incapable of thought. They choose not to think. And in doing so, they preserve the very structures that limit awareness, perpetuate conformity, and make independent reasoning costly. Understanding this is the first step towards seeing the invisible forces that shape society. Once you recognize how social belonging enforces obedience, you can start to understand why most people willingly trade truth for comfort, and why challenging the crowd is one of the loneliest and most necessary acts a human can perform. By now, it should be clear. Stupidity is not an accident. It is a feature, a product of human psychology and social design. The obedient thrive. The conformist prospers, and independent thinkers. They are often isolated, misunderstood, or dismissed. Schopenhauer warned that trying to reason with those who refuse to think is often futile. Logic, evidence, and argument rarely succeed against minds structured for obedience rather than inquiry. The obedient do not lack intelligence. They lack willingness. They have surrendered judgment, chosen comfort over understanding, and invested themselves in conformity. This is why debates, online arguments, and political disagreements often feel endless and pointless. The system does not merely tolerate mental laziness. It depends on it. Independent thought disrupts the machinery, challenges authority, and threatens predictability. And those who try to force reasoning on the obedient often meet resistance, hostility, or indifference. Yet there is a deeper insight here, one that Schopenhauer hinted at, but that most never fully grasp. The value of thinking lies not in convincing others, but in preserving your own mind. To reason, to question, to think critically is a form of freedom. It may isolate you, it may make you unpopular, it may even make life harder in certain ways. But it is also the only path to clarity, understanding, and self-mastery. Society rewards the obedient. Civilization profits from conformity. But you do not have to be a product of that system. You can choose to think, to observe, to question, to recognize the invisible structures that manipulate, guide, and exploit the unthinking majority. That choice is yours. And once you start seeing the world through this lens, everything becomes clearer. The confidence of the unthinking, the patterns in politics, the obedience in workplaces, the repetition of cultural cliches, all of it begins to make sense. You realize that the system thrives not on intelligence, but on compliance. And you realize why thinking has become a liability for the many and a rare advantage for the few. If this perspective resonates, if you feel the weight of understanding what most ignore, then continue the journey. Explore ideas that challenge the crowd, question what everyone else accepts, and preserve your mind in a world designed to reward surrender. Because the rarest and most valuable skill today is not knowledge. It is the courage to think for yourself. If you want to keep walking this path, to understand what others cannot see, and to recognize the patterns society wants you to ignore, then stay connected. Subscribe, not for content, not for entertainment, but as a commitment to see clearly, to question deeply, and to think independently. Because once you do, there is no turning back.